What's up? It's Lindsay here, and we are in video number 3 of emotional eating. So if you didn't see the first 2 videos, make sure to go check them out. In the first video, we talked about why emotional eating is not the number one enemy. And in the second video, we talked about diet mindset and how it's important to recognize when we think like a dieter and how to start to retrain our brain to look at food a little differently. Now today, in video number 3, we're going to talk about the reasons that we eat. So this one's pretty simple. The first one we're going to go over is super short and sweet, and the second one a little bit more detailed. So there's usually just 2 reasons why we eat. Reason number 1, physical hunger. Reason number 2 is emotional hunger. So it's that simple. We can break it down into those 2 categories. Now, the first one that I want to go over, physical hunger, is pretty simple because if we're actually hungry, we're hungry. That's all there is to it. There's real hunger, and that's okay. And sometimes it comes from a lack of nutrition. So it's really important to be aware and know that you're giving your body the right macronutrients, you're getting the right micronutrients. And if you're not getting that proper balance of nutrients and nutrient-dense foods, then your body can be thrown off a little bit, and it can lead you towards different types of cravings. So gotta make sure that you're getting a nice, well-balanced diet. And also make sure that you are fueling up enough. Now, some people, when they're stressed, don't eat at all. They forget to eat. I'm the opposite. When I'm stressed, food is my best friend. But there are some people who will actually lose weight in times of high stress. So those people are the ones that are more likely to overeat later on in the day when they realize that they haven't eaten anything. Their body kind of starts to shut down and they're like, give me some food, and they go and they eat everything. So there are different types of that physical hunger depending on what type of eater you are, but it's really important to know that it's okay for us to be hungry, and sometimes hunger is just hunger, and that's it. So the second type of eating is the emotional hunger, and there's a lot of different ways that I can break this down, but I'm going to talk to you today in this video about the most common ones that I see in the clients that I work with, and ones that I've of course experienced myself, because I am not exempt from this. I have definitely been there. So there's an eating that we do sometimes when we're just unaware of why we are eating. This one I resonate with so much. I did this a lot when I was married. So married to my now ex-husband, and I was eating a lot at night. I had no idea why. I just knew that I was up eating a lot. It wasn't about physical hunger. It was definitely an emotional hunger. And it wasn't until later on, through honestly my nutrition school, I had some great lectures from Janine Roth. She's like the OG of emotional eating, and she was talking about emotional eating in these lectures. I was learning about it, and as she was talking, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing. I didn't even realize that I was doing it until I heard somebody talking about it. So that unawareness of why we're eating, it's also called unconscious eating. And when we're doing the unconscious eating, we usually don't know why. So in my case, I didn't know why I was choosing to eat at night. I knew I was doing a lot of eating at night, but I didn't know that it was because I was in a relationship that I shouldn't have been in. I was in an unhealthy relationship, an unhealthy marriage. And it took me a lot of work to finally unpack that and finally admit to myself that this marriage is not working and you need to figure out a solution to it. And that was a lot to deal with, and I didn't want to deal with it, so I turned to food instead. So I had to unpack a lot. I was obviously using food to avoid some of these bad feelings, and then thank goodness for Janine Roth and her lectures on emotional eating, because that was my first wake-up call to where I could really dig deep and be honest with myself of why I was turning to food. What was I trying to avoid? So that's something that we have, that unawareness, that unconscious eating. And sometimes it's to avoid, most of the time, honestly, it's to avoid a bad feeling or a negative emotion. In my case, it was that I'm in the wrong relationship. I'm not in a good marriage. I'm from a Catholic family. People don't get divorced in Catholic families. So it was to even think of that, or to even have that word. I couldn't even say that word in the very beginning, to be honest with you. It was just something I could not admit to myself. So I was avoiding these bad feelings and using food instead. So we have to be able to unpack what it is that's going on with ourselves, and we got to get real, because only we know what we're trying to avoid. Of course, people can help us with that, but we've got to be honest with our true feelings, or else we'll never actually get to the bottom of it. Now, another reason that we emotionally eat sometimes is because we have a lack of self-care. If food is the only joy that I have in my life, then I need to throw some other things in that toolbox because I need some other coping mechanisms. Now, we already talked about in video number 1 that food can bring you comfort. It's okay if food is one of your coping mechanisms, but food should not be the only one. And I've had clients tell me that's the one thing I can look forward to. That's the one constant. Eating ice cream at the end of the night, or eating some cupcakes or cookies at the end of the night. It's the one thing that I have to look forward to. We need to find some other ways for you to have joy in your life. And it's different for all of us because we all have different preferences and we all have different needs. But food should not be the only thing that brings you joy. Now, when I talk about self-care, I don't just mean getting your nails done, your hair done, or getting a massage. Now, I love those things, but when it comes to self-care, I'm talking about that relationship to our physical health, our emotional well-being, and our mental health. And when those things start to slip, it's hard to be in tune intuitively with what we truly need, emotionally, physically, and mentally. Now, we know stress is always going to happen. We can't avoid stress, but we can control how we choose to respond to it and how we choose to manage processing some of the difficult times that we go through. Life is a roller coaster. There are a lot of up and downs, and it's important to feel equipped enough to handle our emotions, be honest with ourselves with what we're going through, and have other things to turn to besides food. So that wraps up video number 3 for the emotional eating. If you haven't seen the other 2 videos, make sure to go check them out in my IGTV. And I'll be doing an introduction to emotional eating called Emotional Eating 101. It's a 4-week course. It's going to start April 15th. It's only $30, and I'm going to be giving you guys videos every single week. You're going to have a bunch of different worksheets to go through, and I'm really, really excited to bring you guys this information and help you work through some of our struggles around food and our relationships with food. If you guys have any questions about it, please feel free to reach out to me. If you like this video, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up, or leave any questions or comments below. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a good one.